Hey, this is Mike Rickson. I was here to tell you and teach you how to replace your circulation pump. If you have any issues, feel free to give us a call or hit us up on Instagram or Facebook. If you have a bad pump or a faulty pump, this would be somewhat the procedure you would need to do to remove the pump and reinstall the new pump. Your pump should be something like this. Now the hose orientation may be a little bit different. It may be sitting up like this on its side. Either way, you're going to have a pump with a couple clamps and a couple hoses. So your best bet to start would be to get yourself some paper towels, get them underneath the pump, so that way the fluid that you do lose will be soaked up in paper towels. Now, if you pinch off the hoses right, you're not going to lose more than a cup or two of fluid. We like these hose pinch off pliers. They're made by Pittsburgh. You can buy them at Harbor Freight. You can buy them online. Amazon sells very similar ones. We normally like to get the hose centered in the pliers. So when you pinch, the center of the bead is about centered on the hose. So you have that pinched off. Pinch off your other line. You always want to give yourself a little bit of room, you know, maybe 2 inches from the end of the hose, so that way you're not right on top of the pump. So, you know, coming back there somewhere. So now in this position, I have my 2 hoses pinched off. Whatever fluid's in this pump is just right in here. There's no fluid going to come from either side of these hoses, hopefully, if you pinch it off right. The goal would be to loosen the hose clamps, break the clamp free and slide it up the line. Both hose clamps are undone. A lot of times take a pair of pliers, channel locks, vice grips. Because these hoses over time, they will start to almost glue themselves to the pump. And trying to pull straight out or pull straight off, it never works. So a lot of times what you need to do is get a pair of pliers over the barb on the pump and give it a little twist. Once you get it to twist and it breaks free, what I would do is slowly work it out until you just get it to open up a little bit. And at that point, you can slowly let it control drain. Because if you just pop the hose off, now if your pinch off pliers didn't work right, you're going to end up with a bunch of fluid coming out that you don't want coming out all over the place. So normally what you do is kind of just wiggle the hose until it just breaks off a little bit and then wait till it stops draining. Then you would know, hey, you know, this thing has stopped. I'm no longer draining fluid. At that point, you can remove the hose. Slowly remove the other hose. Stop right, you know, kind of keep it close so that way it doesn't make a huge mess on you. So once you've got your hoses removed, you kind of controlled the drain so it doesn't make a mess. You know these are no longer leaking. What you're going to want to do is you're going to want to find your 3 wires that come out of the pump. In this example, the wires have been cut off short in this example, but in your case, you have 3 wires. Most of these pumps, white would be the speed control, brown is the ground, red is power. And so if you have the same style pump, you're just going to hook the new wires up off the new pump where the old wires were hooked to. If you only have 2 wires coming out and now you're getting a pump with 3 wires, you're going to want to take the white wire and tie it in with the red wire. So red and white will go together, brown will go to ground. In this position, with the white and red tied together, the pump will be at the normal speed. And for instance, if you have to prime the system because it's a very long system or just the way things are, it's hard on the pump to start a prime on the normal speed, you can actually hook this white wire up to the ground. And when you hook it to the ground, it makes the pump run at max output, which is more of a prime speed, allowing the pump to prime the system, pushing fluid through everything. Once you get an established circulation, then you can now remove that white wire and put it back to the red, and that will keep the pump at its normal speed. So commonly normal would be white and red together to power, brown to ground. So then at that point, you're going to grab your new pump. You're going to, sometimes you may take a little WD-40, you may take a little lubrication and put it on the pump port. That way these hoses slide on nice and easy. Get your hose back on there. Get your other hose back on there. Pumps back in its orientation. You'll slide the clamps back, and normally we try to leave these clamps in an accessible spot, right? You don't want this clamp spun around upside down so you can't ever access it. Try to leave that clamp somewhat accessible if you can. Tighten these guys down nice and snug, nice and tight. Both clamps. Once both clamps are on and tight, at that point you can remove your pinch off pliers. Now at this point you haven't actually powered anything up. You've wired it, you've re-hooked up the plumbing. Now we're going to go turn the system on. And this pump should take off. It should start to push a bunch of air bubbles through the system. You should hear a little gurgling through the reservoir. And at that point you should be able to open your reservoir and visually see circulation in the reservoir. If you can't visually see circulation, then you may want to swap the white wire over to the ground for that high output prime speed. Then you should see circulation. Once you've seen that circulation, you can swap the white wire back to power, go back to the normal operating speed. That should cover most applications. Some are going to be harder than others. For instance, the one we have in here today, it was pretty buried. We were going to do a video on that in the van. The way it was in there was not really accessible for a video, so I figured a tabletop view would give customers or people a better opportunity to truly see how to do this and how to do it right. If you guys got any questions for us, feel free to call us, 503-668-6090. Thank you.